Hey everyone, Austin with Best Scented, and today we're going to kick things off with going through my collection as it stands right now. It's going to be growing pretty soon. More to come on that. But before it does, I thought you guys should know where my ground floor is. So starting off with the only Bond in my collection right now. I've owned other Bond Number Nine fragrances. I like Bond Number Nine fragrances. My partner, one of her very favorite fragrances is a Bond fragrance. But right now, this is the only one in my collection. Greenwich Village, uh, Bond Number Nine, a pretty popular fragrance. I'm sure you guys have seen on YouTube. I'm sure you've seen it on TikTok. It's fresh, it's floral, it's sweet. Um, some people may say it leans a little feminine. That's not an issue for me. I like how it smells on me. I feel like I smell a little pretty. It has that kind of Baccarat Rouge 540 DNA, as a few other fragrances in my collection do. It's a DNA that I love. So it's one that in the springtime gets a lot of wear for me. If I'm going to an event that's a little bit more upscale maybe than stuff I'm doing in my daily life, that will be something I reach for. Um, Next, we're going to get into the Creed fragrances, starting off with three heavy hitters in a row. Um, King of fragrances, Creed Aventus, the original. You guys know it, you love it. Maybe one of the most important fragrances in fragrance history. This is what's the batch on this one? This is an F batch, 2023, I think. I love it. The longevity isn't an issue for me. A lot of people complain about that. I'm usually getting a minimum of 6 hours. Of course, you'd want it to be, you'd want it to last all day. It's not gonna. Um, but it smells great, and while I'm still able to smell it, it's incredible. And because I love that DNA so much, I also have Absolute Aventus. This is kind of my fancy event fragrance. I've worn it to black tie weddings, summer black tie weddings. It's great for that. You can wear it in the winter too. If it's a warmer winter day, it takes the Aventus DNA and sophisticates it. It's a great flanker. But another great flanker of Aventus is Aventus Cologne. Aventus Cologne is one of my five favorite fragrances of all time, maybe. It takes the DNA and lightens it up. This is a beautiful summer fragrance. People will say that the regular Aventus is a summer fragrance. I disagree because there's some deeper elements in there. It works better in the spring or in the summer. I'll wear it like on a rainy day. Aventus Cologne is a beautiful warm weather fragrance. It really jumps off your skin in the sun. But the best Creed fragrance for warm weather, and it's competing with Aventus Cologne for my favorite Creed fragrance. It's Virgin Island water. Virgin Island water. Um, it smells so similar to something I used to wear when I was in high school. Maybe a Tommy Bahama fragrance. I've been trying to figure out what it is, but I can't exactly put my finger on it. But either way, incredible high heat fragrance, tropical. Um, smells like a smells like a drink you'd be having on the beach, hanging out in Florida, hanging out in the Keys. And that's where I get the most wear out of that fragrance. Is it's one of my go-to Florida fragrances, along with another one that's coming up shortly. But first, I have two fragrances from Eccentric Molecule, Molecule O1 and Molecule O2. Uh, I'm sure you guys have some familiarities with these. Molecule O1, just ISOE Super. Molecule O2 is just Ambroxan. Usually, I wear these to work. In my working environment, I get hot, I get sweaty. I'm going into other people's homes. I don't want to be wearing something strong that will just kind of, offend their noses. Spraying 12 sprays of something and then getting a sweat on. So those are great because they are both loud but so simple. that people can't help but to love them. I have very few times have strangers ask me what fragrance I've been wearing out in public. People will say it happens to them often. I Maybe it does. Maybe it does. Maybe it's just me. But Molecule O2 is far and ahead the fragrance that has had that happen for me the most. It's beautiful. I love it. This tends to be the one I'll spray a few sprays on before going to the gym. Um, and I love it. But people really seem to take to Molecule O2. Now I have heard that Molecule O2 has been discontinued. I can neither confirm nor deny, but in trying to re-up on this bottle, as you can see, I don't know, 85, 90% of the way through this 100 mil. Uh, and I'd love to get my hands on a backup because it's one of my most used fragrances. But it's it's sold out everywhere I look except at retail, and I'm not going to pay $160 for Embroxen or ISOE Super. I'm running pretty low on that too. But those are two great fragrances, great for layering too. When I was first getting into niche fragrances, I would layer much more than I do now. Because I think now I kind of just want to have a little bit more of appreciation for the craft that went behind making these fragrances and make it less about myself, less about the great combinations that I can make. Um, but those are really great for layering. If you're wearing something that doesn't have great longevity, spray a couple sprays of those on after 30 seconds of spraying the first fragrance on, and it'll give you an extra hour or two. So great fragrances, some of the cheaper ones. So if you can find those, like in the Facebook groups or something, if they get restocked, definitely, I can't recommend them enough. Uh, and now next, my my third favorite fragrance of all time to this point. Uh, in the other great fragrance for when you're in the tropics, when you're in the real high heat, it is Goldfield and Banks Bohemian Lime. I love lime fragrances, but there's something about this particular one. It is equally juicy from the fruit and rindy. Uh, Juicier in the opening, right when you spray it on, and then as it dries down, um, the rindiness comes in. Now I have iPad on my lap with Fragrantica opening, and I don't want to say anything that isn't true. So I feel like I smell vetiver. Yes, so there's Haitian vetiver in this fragrance. Um, when this fragrance dries down, it's the finger lime rind. It's the Haitian vetiver in sandalwood. It is everything you could possibly want out of a high heat fragrance, except that the longevity leaves a little bit to be desired. But this stuff smells so good. You can spray it on all day long, re up every hour, and it will never be too much. Um, so moving on from there, from high heat to the cold, getting into a couple Initio fragrances that I have. Initio is a house I used to own many more fragrances from. Um, but like is the case with many brands, they sometimes have a common DNA, where each fragrance smells enough like the next, where it may be redundant to own multiple. I have felt that way largely about Initio fragrances, but my favorite from the bunch is Atomic Rose. This is one of their newer releases, 2023 or maybe early 2024. I think it was out in 2023. Um, I really like rose fragrances on me. Some men are afraid to wear rose. You shouldn't be. It smells beautiful. There's nothing wrong with smelling pretty as a guy. I like smelling pretty. I like looking pretty. Um, but when I had designer fragrances, one that I really loved for like cooler spring days, early fall, was Toy Boy from who made Toy Boy? Well, anyways, Toy Boy comes in the teddy bear bottle. It's a beautiful rose fragrance. It was when I owned designer fragrances, one of the less designery sense that I had, and I think that it helped me transition into Moschino Toy Boy. It helped me transition into niche fragrances because there's some complexity to it. So when I discovered Atomic Rose, I loved it. And the other initio I have is Paragon. There's a big dent in this bottle because last year my girlfriend and I went to New York for a few days. This is the one fragrance we took with us. We sprayed the crap out of it. It's a beautiful, creamy, sweet fragrance. Great for spring, fall, warmer winter days. I've been wearing it more recently because it's been a pretty temperate winter. So that's a great one. Perfectly unisex, I think, because she and I both like to wear it a lot. Um, but yeah, great fragrance from Initio. And now on to my Le Labo fragrances. I have three here. The first one uh, is another 13. Another 13 is another fragrance, kind of with the Baccarat Rouge 540 DNA. Um, Now, BR 540 is coming down the line. I like that fragrance a lot. I wear it a lot in the spring, especially. Um, it's really a toss up to me between the two, which I like more, whether it's Baccarat or whether it's another 13. I think another 13 may lean a tiny bit more masculine. BR 540 might lean a tiny bit more feminine. But either way, I mean, they're two fragrances that in my collection will be like all time fragrances. Um, I'll always have them around. I'll always get a lot of use out of them. Uh, and one thing that helps is that with both of those fragrances, they're not fragrances you want to overspray. They can become a little cloying if you do. Um, but another 13. And next, a classic fragrance at this point has only been out for maybe a decade. Santal 33. Um, but it's a very popular fragrance. This fragrance on its own pretty much popularized sandalwood fragrances for for the rest of the community, um, and it is a beautiful fragrance. A good friend of mine, it is his all-time favorite fragrance. I like it a lot. Now, on the internet, you will hear people say that if you wear Santal 33, you'll smell like everyone else, and that's not true. I mean, maybe if you're in New York, maybe if you're in LA, maybe if you're in Paris, uh, you'll smell a handful of people who are wearing Santal 33 or fragrances like Santal 33. In reality, I mean, how many people do you think you come across a day who are also wearing niche fragrances? For me, I think it's zero. My girlfriend, maybe, and me. So that's two out of everyone. Um, it's a beautiful fragrance, and don't let people hating on it because of its popularity steer you away. It's incredible. Um, and even like in my nearest big city, which is Boston, Massachusetts, it's not a scent I smell often. And now, my favorite Labo fragrance, my scent of the day today, one of my two all-time favorite fragrances. It's a tie. We'll get to the other one towards the end. It's Tonka 25 by Le Labo. This fragrance was a complete blind buy. I got it just because I found a really good deal on it in a Facebook group. Knew nothing about it, um, and it was love at first sniff. Now, this fragrance I think could turn a lot of people off because it's animalic. It smells like urine, but it smells like urine in the best way possible. I don't really. It's like when there's a smell that you enjoy that you know that you shouldn't enjoy, like gasoline maybe. Um, it has that effect on me. It's creamy. It's gorgeous. There's the tonka bean, of course. It's an all time favorite. Um, One I get a lot of wear out of. When I got the bottle, it was full, and now I'm halfway through it, and to to wear 25 milliliters of a fragrance, I think it's 50. To wear 25 milliliters of a fragrance when you have this many fragrances is not easy. So it's what I'm reaching for a lot. Next, Baccarat Rouge 540. I have, again, torn through this bottle, as you can see on the backside. I'm more than halfway through it. I think my partner wears it a lot too. It's a gorgeous fragrance. So many of the things I was saying about Santal 33 apply to this fragrance as well. No matter what, haters are saying on the internet, this is an incredible fragrance. Now, it is one that out in public, you will smell more people smelling like this. Ariana Grande Cloud smells similar. It has the DNA, but it does not smell like Baccarat Rouge 540. You can tell the difference, um, which is often how I feel about clones and the original product. It's an incredible fragrance. One of the best springtime fragrances as the weather starts to warm up here in a month or two. It's one I'll be reaching for a lot more. One I've been reaching for a lot recently, though, Altair from Parfums de Marly. This was just announced on Fragrantica as the best niche fragrance, the best men's fragrance, something like that. And I think it is totally deserving of it. I first smelled this fragrance in Florida, October of 2023. It was like 80 degrees out, and I was not impressed. Um, I thought it was bland, generic, boring, uh, not something I'd ever really, want to spend money on for my collection. But then a few months ago, uh, in Boston, I smelt it again on a colder day, and it blew my mind. Just smelling the inside of the cap, the vanilla jumps out at you, um, and it is it this fall and winter. It's been probably my most worn fragrance. I'm like an eighth of the way through the bottle after like a month and a half. It gets a lot of run. It's gorgeous, um, and if you're looking for something for winter, it would be one of the first fragrances that I would recommend you. Next, continuing on with Parfums de Marly, Carlisle. Carlisle is a deep, dark tobacco fragrance. Uh, I would only wear this at nighttime if I was doing, something a little dressed up. I recently wore it to a black tie wedding at night in a nice venue, and I felt like it was great for that situation. Of course, here I have a 120 milliliter bottle. I don't know if I'll ever go through 120 milliliters of this in my life because it just doesn't get a lot of run for me. But when it's the right occasion to wear this fragrance, it's the right occasion. It's gorgeous, just not an everyday fragrance. It isn't, but not everything can be. Uh, a tobacco fragrance that's more of an everyday fragrance, though, is Herod from Parfums de Marly. One of my favorite Parfums de Marly fragrances, one of my favorite winter fragrances, one of my favorite tobacco fragrances. This one has some citrus in it. I'm checking just to be sure. Um, no citrus. Pepperwood and cinnamon in the top. There's some freshness when you spray this on skin right away that I think makes it more wearable. I'll wear this during winter days, um, like Altair. Um, Great for situations like that. Transitions well into the night. I've used a good chunk of this bottle, and I'm definitely going to re up. I'll probably get a 125 milliliter when it comes time. And next, the most divisive Parfums de Marly fragrance, Cologne. I love Cologne. I'm sure many of you don't. I have, it's my girlfriend, it's her scent of the day today. She's off screen. She's smelling herself right now. To me, it smells like, in the beginning, it smells like freshly sliced peppers. It's beautiful. Um, Fall, spring fragrance, early summer. Um, People say that this kind of has a Baccarat Rouge 540 DNA. I don't get that. It does get a little powdery like BR 540 does in the dry down, but that opening, it's blood orange. It's rindy, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and if of course I like to blind buy. I like to have the bottles. If I don't like the fragrance, I'll resell it. But if you're, maybe contemplating whether or not you would like cologne, because it has a lot of people. There are a lot of people that don't like it. The Fragrantica ratings are low. What do they? What is the that's hair so? On Fragrantica, it has a 3.68 out of 5. Oh, it's so wrong. That fragrance is so good. Next, the first niche fragrance I purchased, Parfums de Marly Percival. Uh, Percival, very much in the ilk of Mont Blanc Legend Spirit and Abercrombie and Fitch, whatever the Abercrombie and Fitch fragrance was. When I was in middle school, I loved Abercrombie and Fitch. I wore a lot of Abercrombie and Fitch, um, and so that and I don't anymore. But that scent kind of just like means a lot to me still. Um, and when I had designer fragrances, I had Mont Blanc Legend. In Percival is just like the best version of that scent. I have a newer bottle. Um, well, I mean, it's probably 2 or 3 years old at this point. So it's maturated a little bit, but man, this is a powerhouse fragrance. One time I sprayed on 6 sprays, and I heard an employee in a store I went to talking about how I smelled too strong, and they had to get away from me. So yeah, it's a beautiful fragrance. Easy to wear, great for younger people starting to get into niche. Um, Depending on what your definition of niche is, people might not even say this is a niche fragrance. I would say it is, but that's a different topic for a different day. Moving on to Perseus. Perseus is one of the newest fragrances in my collection. Um, it's a beautiful warm weather green late spring fragrance. I got it because I am going down to Florida in 10 days maybe. um, I'll be filming some content down there, uh, and I wanted kind of a fragrance to remember that trip by, in the same way that Paragon reminded me of the New York trip last year. So Perseus was going to be that fragrance. um, is it uninspired? Sure. Is it original? Not really. Have you smelled other things like it? Probably. Is it gorgeous? Yes. And that's the most important thing to me. I don't always need to feel like I'm being challenged by my fragrances. Um, but yeah, that's a gorgeous one. I'm looking forward to getting more wear out of once the weather's nicer. And now talking about easy dumb reach, Sedley from Parfums de Marly. I just repurchased a bottle because I had used to own it. I wore it a lot. Sold it as I was trying to to you know only keep fragrances I wore a lot, whatever. Um, but I love this scent so much. It had to come back into the collection. Dumb Reach, so easy to wear. Um, it performs so well in the heat. If I'm going to the gym at a time where I know it's not going to be popular and I'm going to work up a sweat, I'll wear that because I don't want a lot of people to be around me and to offend them with how potent my fragrance is. But it's 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 great in the heat. It really projects off your skin if you're getting a little sweaty. And the same is true with Roger Dove's Elysium Parfum Cologne, a gorgeous Dumb Reach fragrance, blue fragrance. Um, but there's something in it that just smells so luxurious and fancy, whereas Sedley would be the blue fragrance that anyone could wear. This is the blue fragrance that someone who's kind of uppity would be wearing. Um, Gorgeous. One of my most worn fragrances in the summer. I used to own Elysium Eau Intense, and that may come back into the collection someday. But Elysium, the Parfum Cologne original, just is my favorite from Raja that I have right now. Stay tuned. Next into Suspiro. Suspiro, once the sister brand of Xerjoff. As you can see, there are a lot of Xerjoff fragrances here. Um, Suspiro is a brand I want to get into more. The reason why I got Vibrato Blind Buy is because I had smelled Bulgari Tigar, and loved how that smelled. And on Fragrantico, and I looked it up, people were saying this is the better version. And not only is it the better version, it is probably the cheaper version at discounters as well. It is it's so beautiful. It's so strong. It's so potent. It is depending on the day, very masculine. Depending on the day, very feminine. It's another fragrance I'm gonna bring down to Florida for the same trip. Get a lot of wear out of. But uh, to the last house in my collection right now, we have Xerjoff, and we are starting off with the other fragrance, tied for my favorite fragrance of all time. It is Accento from Xerjoff. I have it's the velvet bottle. Um, I I don't even know how to describe it. The smelling this like gets me emotional. There's juicy fruits, florals in there. It smells like one of the Chanel Chance fragrances. Um, little story time. I'll keep it brief. I was at a mall in Huntington, West Virginia, in a Macy's, smelling men's and women's designer fragrances, and I smelled one of the Chanel Chance flankers that had just came out, and thought, that's pretty good. That's something I would wear. And so, you know, a year and a half later, when I discovered that there was a niche fragrance that smelled similar to that, on Fragrantica, people say that which Chanel Chance is it? It is Chanel Chance Eau de Parfum. Um, 110 people say that they smell similar, and I agree, but smells better. Uh, Whereas Tonka 25 is my fall winter fragrance. Favorite fragrance. Accento is my spring summer favorite fragrance. Next, Herba Gold from Xerjoff, the Herba Pura DNA, but better. Um, this one is less harsh, more creamy. It's going to get some run on the Florida trip. Um, Gorgeous fragrance. It was in my sale pile, but I pulled it back out for this Florida trip to give it one more fair shake. Because I think it's going to be the perfect weather for it while we're down there. And next or last, sad face. From Xerjoff, we have three of the four members of the Torino line. We have Torino 21, Torino 22, Torino 24. Starting with Torino 21, which is probably my favorite from the line. It is a beautiful blue summer high heat fragrance. Um, it's one that I've recommended to a number of friends, just because it's such an easy wear. There's such a great mass appeal with this fragrance, uh, that I know they'd love it without even getting their nose on it. I forget if I gave it a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, uh, on first impression. Next, Torino 22, the one that I've worn the most. Torino 22 to me is really powdery on my skin. I like it for the spring. People may say that it's a summer fragrance, and maybe it is for them where they live. For me, it's definitely a spring fragrance, but it's gorgeous at that. Perfectly unisex, another one of those. Gets a lot of run. And last, one of the newer ones in the collection, Torino 24. It Like Torino 21. In the opening, it's bright, it's beautiful, it's great for high heat, but there are some darker notes as it dries down. Um, Let me see what Fragrantica is saying in the base. Yeah, musk, moss, patchouli, and it is really, once it gets to the base there, um, where that fragrance stands out, because it's kind of in the opening. It's kind of in Torino 21's shadow, I would say. But in the base, it's beautiful. Um, Great late spring, early summer fragrance. Looking forward to getting more wear out of it this year. So that's it. That's where my collection is at as of this moment. Now, little spoiler: the next thing you see is going to be a haul video, an unboxing video. I have some fragrances here that I'm excited to add to the collection. Many blind buys. So that video will be coming soon. But in the meantime, thanks for watching this. If you like the video, please like, subscribe. I'm going to be uploading more videos soon. And if there are any topics that you guys want to see, like fragrances of a particular note, or top 5 fragrances for summer, other lists, anything like that, please leave them in the comments. I really want to get some stuff out there, and I want to make videos that you guys want to watch. So until then, best scented, Austin. Thank you.